Hello.
Good morning.
I think we're good.
Famous last words.
I was just saying to Q&A, the fucking last recording I did, I had to delete everything because it was so bad. My audio was fucking terrible. I'm trying this new relaxed setup where I'm in an armchair, just lurking.
I feel like we need to meme this. So if anybody's listening, I want to see a meme of Max in an armchair with a cigar, microphone in front of his face.
No cigars. I'm fucked. I'm so ill again. So I'm just taking it easy here. I know. No cigar, but I do look nice.
Hell yeah. You're still keeping up with your diet with the carnivore?
Yeah, except I broke it yesterday because I was so ill and I had to drive for 15 hours solid. And I felt like I was hit by a train and I was like, fuck this. I'm getting some food in me. Mm-hmm. I don't care.
I've got visions of Max stopping at every Costa coffee on the motorway, just nicking loads of packets of sugar.
No, I had a McDonald's, which wasn't even very nice. But I was like, fuck it, I just need something. I know it's pretty bad. I had, what did I have? I had a Bounty bar. That's pretty nice. And then I had a Snickers bar.
Okay, so rewind. Of all of the choices that you had, you went for a Bounty.
Oh, Bounty's amazing. It's really underestimated. It was a trio as well, so you get like the 3 little bits as well, so you feel like you get more. Do you know what I mean? You sort of savour it a bit more that way.
Yeah, I like that marketing ploy where they do like a trio or a duo where you're like, oh yeah, this is to share, and literally nobody ever shares them.
Yeah.
Oh boy, but I would have thought like for like a first time or something like a pasta or pizza or something. Oh man, that must have been
a Bounty and a McDonald's.
I didn't have time. I was literally like driving non-fucking stop, and I thought, what's the fastest thing I can just throw in my face that like is going to keep me going? So I just thought, I'll just have a McDonald's. Didn't feel good. Yeah, I'll be back to the carnivore as soon as I'm better. Anyway, that's enough about me. What's going on with you guys?
Not much for me. No, same old. Had a really great trip to an undisclosed location with the rest of the foundation team last month, which was awesome to finally get to meet some of the faces that I've been working alongside for 18 months or even more now. To meet up and have a couple of beers was fantastic. So yeah, we did a bit of team building and really had a nice week out somewhere in Europe, which was awesome. Ooh. And got us all very, very fired up for what's planned in the future, you know, both short term and long term. We did actually do some work as well. So
a whole week as well. That's unreal.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty amazing event, like set out from the company. I mean, that's pretty cool, like for team building stuff and just getting everyone together. Because I mean, you're pretty scattered around, aren't you? I mean, it's all like a global thing. Isn't
literally all over. Yeah, 100% remote. We're literally all 4 corners of the globe. There is a heavy concentration in the US, but we're dotted around everywhere. We've got people in all sorts of weird time zones. Trying to organise mass, global calls is a nightmare.
What about you, Antimus? Any team building weeks away for your business?
Yeah, I've been doing tons of team building with myself, man. It's been wonderful.
Do you feel like you're closer with yourself now?
Oh, man, it's been wonderful.
I'm just such a great guy.
No, it's actually been pretty cool. I mean, we've been putting out now getting like production set up with a new manufacturer. So it was quite nice traveling around a bit and getting to meet them personally and seeing all the plants and stuff where the plates are being made and the lasers and stuff. The setup's pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that little video you shared. That looked awesome.
Yeah, and unfortunately that was only a small thing I could share because most of the stuff that was going on around there was not allowed to be shared. But I'll be going there next week again to do a bit more filming and stuff. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got on the list?
Well, like update-wise, there's not too much, actually. That should be a pretty short list. One thing to get out of the way at the beginning was Join Market v0.9.9. They've got a new release out. They're not like major changes, but they updated like a few directory nodes and stuff for connection stuff. And they also had a bug in there that you couldn't send transactions under 27,000 sats. So they removed that just for anyone who bumped into that issue. And one thing to watch out with this release, depending on what your previous version was, there are different ways of updating So if you're pre 0.7, there's a different method of updating than if you're afterwards. So they've got instructions out for both. So just make sure to check that if you're updating. And then we had a big release from Sparrow, the 1.7.2. That was definitely cool. They've
About
now
fucking time. Slacking, Craig.
He is, isn't he? Lazy.
It's probably because he's been slammed with support tickets from Ordinals users, which I'm sure we'll come on to later. But yeah, that seems to have gone mental lately. But yeah, we'll cover that later. Sorry to jump in back to the release.
Sure. Yeah, one thing, Taproot now with the new Bitcoin Core release from last autumn, they've now implemented Taproot and also BIP 329, which I think we briefly touched on last time as well. It's now like a new standard for importing, exporting labels, and obviously this only really makes sense if a lot of different wallets implement this, but you've got to start somewhere, so that's definitely nice.
Yeah, the thing that stood out for me with this release was that he's added something called Life Hash, which is kind of to the TLDR is that it's kind of a visual representation of a wallet's master fingerprint. So why might that be useful? So within any Bitcoin wallet, any good Bitcoin wallet that allows you to use a passphrase. So you have your 12 or 24 seed words, and then if you can apply an optional passphrase on top of that as an extra layer of security that essentially gives you a brand new wallet. When you apply any passphrase, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's 1 character or 100 characters, the master fingerprint changes and you get a brand new wallet. These master fingerprints are just like a short identifier, pretty much gobbledygook to humans. I think it's like 8 characters. Fairly difficult to remember. Most people just write them down. But he's also implemented this library on top of that kind of interprets this master fingerprint and puts it into like a visual icon type thing that is unique to every single different master fingerprint. So the idea behind this being that it's quite easy to enter the wrong passphrase. And when I say the wrong passphrase, technically there are no wrong passphrases. Let's rephrase the word wrong and let's say enter the incorrect passphrase, not the one that you intended. The idea being here that if you do that, then you'll have a visual indicator that, if you're out by 1 character on your passphrase, this little picture or icon, whatever you want to call it, will be completely different to the one you expect to see. So it's just a very quick indicator as a sort of red flag to say, hey, if you don't recognize this image, you might want to retry typing in your passphrase. It's something that, for as long as passphrases have been around, the people have been foot-gunning themselves by typing one in too fast when setting up, send a load of funds in, and then they go and enter the actually intended passphrase, and they're met with an empty wallet and a lot of panic. So this is just an extra tool that can help sort of mitigate that in a visual way, such that you don't have to kind of remember a string of 8 random letters and numbers. You have just a visual indicator that's much more easy for us stupid humans to kind of remember.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. It's from the Blockchain Commons, like a standard brought out from them. I mean, generally, the Blockchain Commons have been putting out quite a few cool content stuff over the last year or so. And I mean, this implementation is definitely cool. I mean, I'd still recommend everyone write down the fingerprint anyway. That can definitely not, I mean, especially if you want to import this into other wallets or something, you probably won't have the life hash visual confirmation there, but it's great just that you don't have to check. And obviously in this in the fingerprint there are characters that can look similar, so you might have written it down a bit, like if it's an O or a 0 or a D or something, that can all look similar if you've written it down by hand. So here it's definitely another layer of confirmation there. And one last thing to highlight from my side in this update was also NFC support for like tap signer or the bolt cards or something like that you can use. But obviously, because it's a desktop wallet, you'll need like an NFC adapter for this. But if you've got this, or if you're using those products, then you can get these pretty cheap and just plug them in via USB or something. Next on the list was Zeus v0.7.2 that came out last month. They implemented a point of sale for Square terminals. I haven't seen exactly how this works in practice, but as I presume, I mean, obviously Square has these point of sale kind of terminals in shops that you can set up. And here, I guess you can connect Zeus to that and use it for showing like payment links and so on, invoices for people to pay in store. Yeah, that's a pretty nice feature I haven't seen from other wallets yet. I don't know if you've got any additional information on that.
Yeah, I had a quick scan through their docs this morning, which you can find at docs.zeusln.app, where it covers off the basic functionality, which, as you say, it allows for the Zeus app to plug in an API from the Square terminal so that they can talk to one another, so that if you've got a Square terminal, presumably this allows you to be able to receive Lightning or on-chain. There must be some auto conversion there at current market rate. But yeah, essentially you can, once these two pieces of hardware are hooked up, your phone and the Square terminal, presumably you'll hit a button on the Square terminal. Zeus will display a Lightning invoice to be paid. User that wants to pay with Lightning or on-chain scans that, sends the payment, and then payment goes over the Lightning or main chain Bitcoin network. Once Zeus recognizes that, it'll update the Square terminal, show as paid, merchant and customer are happy. And yeah, it's good to see, and hopefully it gets widely adopted. I've not tried it personally because I don't have any Square terminals lying around, unfortunately.
Yeah, probably also just for like bookkeeping and stuff, this is great. And then you don't have like two different sets of data on your sales and stuff. It can all be
That's a very
put
good
into
point, yeah.
one database. Yeah. And also here, NFC support for receiving payments. So if people are using these NFC cards for their Lightning payments, you can now use this with Zeus as well to receive. And also one mention, they've also brought out pre-release for v0.7.3. So that should be coming pretty soon, the full release. Here they'll also have QR code images that you can import from your gallery on your phone. So if you're not like physically together with someone you want to receive from or pay to, they can just send you an image or a screenshot of the QR code and you can import that. And they'll also have biometric login. So it's just 2 points.
Boomer spec. I like that QR code import from gallery. Yeah. You can just imagine some boomers taking a photo of a QR code rather than copy and pasting an address and sending it. So yeah, I can see the use case there. I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. Then we've got Breez. They released SDK, like a software development kit for devs who are building different apps and want to implement Lightning or Bitcoin payments, and obviously don't want to like build everything from scratch, so they can implement this. It's pretty straightforward, and then Breez will act as like the LSP, like the Lightning service provider, and they've also partnered with Greenlight, which is a service from Blockstream, and they're going to provide the node for this. In the specs, I saw that it is possible also to connect other nodes or like existing nodes, your own node, whatever. But I'm not quite sure. At the moment, they said the only provider that they offer is Greenlight. So I'm not 100% sure if it's already open to connect with anything else. But I think that's the goal. So this is quite nice.
Yeah, three main things I love about this release is, number one, this is a methodology for Breez to continue to get some revenue. If you use this in the default setup, then Breez will be acting as the LSP, Lightning Service Provider, and presumably taking fees on swaps and routing fees and whatnot. So that's a big positive. Number two, they've open sourced it, so that the whole point of an SDK is that other developers can use it. So this is open source, so anybody that, like you said, Antimus, that wants to implement this into their apps, whether they're interested in Lightning or not, can do so in a pretty easy way. And the third thing that I like, is that although Breez is the default LSP, if you are another Bitcoin business that wants to leverage this and, are more, philosophically aligned with Bitcoin and Lightning, and you want to monetize this, then you can bypass the Breez LSP and, insert the company name here, can be the LSP and can take the advantages that are bought from being an LSP. So you can do routing for your customers, you can make some fees on that, same with swaps, etc. So it's monetization for anybody that wants to go that extra mile and sort of not just use just a simple SDK with some API calls just to allow your customers to use Lightning. You can also be the LSP to add some longevity to your business and get some income. And I know I said 3 things, but the 4th thing that I like is that they're using Greenlight. I think we've covered Greenlight before, but this is an implementation from Blockstream for the Lightning Network that separates the node part from the private key part of Lightning, so that you can have the important key bit on your phone such that it remains non-custodial. But the heavy lifting is done by whoever's operating the Greenlight node, if you like. So in this instance, that would be Breez or Blockstream, depending on how it's implemented. So, this is very much aligned to a mobile first world that we live in, where, we want to be self-sovereign. We don't want the back end to be able to steal our Lightning funds, but we also don't want to have to wait forever and a day because we're either running a Lightning node on our phone, which doesn't work all that well, or, we have to go through the rigmarole of setting up a full node at home and then connecting back to that, which, as much as I would love for everybody to do, we're just not in that place. I don't know whether we ever will be for the foreseeable. So this makes some approachable trade-offs that seem, on the surface of it, a good route to be heading down. The thing with Greenlight, and that this might be my naivety that's showing it, that I haven't looked into it deep enough, is that although we're calling this non-custodial because Greenlight, that whoever's operating that back end under this model can't spend any of your funds because they don't have the private keys, they can denial of service the user. So if I can't talk to my default Lightning node backend because they're offline through choice or not, or whether they've been hacked themselves or something, then I'm effectively locked out of my Lightning funds. And I'm sure they've got checks and balances to be able to recover eventually, but obviously that the whole point of kind of the Lightning network is to be able to spend quickly small micro payments that are peer-to-peer. So maybe I need to do a bit more digging. I'm not sure, Antimus, if you know if they've got any mitigations against that denial of service attack vector.
No, I don't. But even if they were to provide like a kind of backup or something that you could just download, we all know about the difficulties of kind of migrating from one Lightning node to another and so on. So I don't know if that would even be possible if they've got their backend open source or something that you could even set it up yourself to import that backup. I have no idea. And just implementing it or just recovering it on a different Lightning implementation. I don't know if that would work. So definitely something to look out for.
Yeah, definitely. Roy from Breez did a great blog post about this release that talks about some of the different use cases and how this can be used both from a customer perspective and and also from a developer perspective that might want to leverage this SDK. The 5th thing that's just popped into my head that I like about it is that although because they're leveraging Greenlight, which is from Blockstream, who maintain Core Lightning, which is a Lightning implementation, they are looking to add support for other Lightning implementations as well. So if you've already got a Bitcoin wallet that is talking to LND or Eclair or LDK or something, one of the other implementations, they are planning on updating this so that you're not kind of locked into the Core Lightning ecosystem as well.
Ooh, that's nice. Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely this whole release is really interesting, especially the way that they've gone with open sourcing it and letting others jump in if they wish to. That's the ethos that we'd love to see. One last software update or release maybe is, we mentioned this last month as well, the Keeper. I don't know, it's just Keeper, the full name, Bitcoin Keeper?
Bitcoin Keeper, yeah. They pulled me up on that recently.
Okay. Right. And they've now released their full their V1.0. So this is now on mainnet. I think they haven't brought out any of the big features. I mean, this is, I think, the same features that they had before, but generally the whole setup is very similar to what you get with Sparrow, Spectre, Nunchuck, but this is for mobile, for Android as well as iOS. Very slick design. One thing to watch out for, obviously, it's very new, and this is the first big release, first major release, so definitely proceed with caution. And this time they are not open source yet. They plan to do this at some point. It is on their roadmap, but I don't know exactly when that will happen. So definitely tread with caution.
Yeah, I like the way that these guys are heading. We've been working fairly closely with them at Foundation for the past couple of months. They've got really wide compatibility with pretty much any of the good hardware wallets on the scene. Blockstream Jade, Ledger, Trezor, Foundation, Passport, Cold Card, Seed Signer. They're all in there, and Keeper talks to them all, so very wide compatibility. They do a couple of unique things. Number one is that they'll automatically give you the option to generate a hot wallet literally in just a single tap. You can go and export the seed words as well if you want to and back those up separately. But they also leverage BIP85 to generate child seeds or additional wallets from that main master seed. So again, we've talked about BIP85 quite a lot on this podcast. And the benefit there is that you only need the one seed backup to be able to recover all of your subsequent child wallets or sub wallets, if you like. So at a single tap within the app, you can just add a new wallet and that'll be sort of child seed number one. You can do presumably an unlimited number of these as well. So the first kind of mobile wallet that I've seen with this sort of implementation, which is good to see. And the other cool sort of feature that they've added is they're quite strict on what you can do with multisig. They make it very simple to set up multi-sig wallets. So they have like 3 plans. The first one's called Pleb, which is kind of the basic BIP85 like single sig wallets and also a single sig air-gapped hardware wallet. Or you can upgrade to the Hodler plan, which allows you to add 2 more hardware wallets so that you can do a 2 or 3 multi-sig. Or you can upgrade to the Diamond Hands plan, which is all of the features that I've just mentioned, plus an additional 2 hardware wallets so that you can then create a 3 or 5 multi-sig wallet. The app also makes mention about inheritance support and dedicated email support. So whilst everything that I've just mentioned right now is free, I'm guessing that in the future, once they are more established, that they're going to start charging for some of these features. So there's like upgrade buttons within, and it does make mention about subscriptions within the Play Store or the App Store. I know for a fact that that's not implemented, and everything that I've just mentioned is currently free, but I've no idea on costs and when there's going to be a fee introduced in the future. But for the time being, it's free, and like Antimus said, a very new app, but showing a lot of promise, and they've got a pretty good team behind them.
One other thing was the Stack wallet, V1.5.38. I think we also mentioned this one either last month or the month before. This is a wallet that I personally haven't used yet, so I can't say much to the usability, but it's like a multi-coin wallet. They support, I think, up to 5 different coins. But one thing where they got like a bit of like positive feedback from like hardcore Bitcoiners was now implementing paynims. So that's something that we've been crying for years now, for other wallets to implement this. Obviously, next to Samurai, who implemented this first. Sparrow also supports paynims, and now I think they may be the third. I don't know if I'm missing anyone. If there's anyone else who does this.
No, you're right. The third one that's currently actively maintained, at least, anyway. So, I really like the UI of Stack Wallet. Actually, I've never used it for any funds. I just had a poke around when I heard that they've added paynims. They're a multi-coin. I think there's like 10 coins that are supported in there. The UI looks quite analogous to Blue Wallet with the kind of cards across the top and the transactions and details underneath that. So it does feel quite familiar for anybody that's used Blue Wallet. Aside from the paynim bit, the big sort of kind of news headline here, I guess, is that this is the first and only implementation of paynims on iOS. So we've now got all 3 bases covered for paynims. So no matter how you access Bitcoin, be that from an iPhone, an Android phone, or just on your computer, you now have access to paynims wherever you are. So that's the really big kind of kicker here for me, is that we've covered all the bases now, and we just need to continue to shill it and raise that adoption. But more ways to access paynims is fantastic. So really good to see. And I've got absolutely no idea who's behind Stack Wallet or how long they've been around or anything like that. They seem to have come out of nowhere, but from the initial time that I've had to briefly play with the wallet, it seems pretty well built out, actually.
Nice to have it as an option on iOS. You were sort of teasing last month that we might have the option to use Whirlpool on iOS potentially soon as well. So it feels like these are pretty big steps. Half the world fucking uses one.
Yeah, exactly. We're slowly starting to win, and I don't doubt that getting Whirlpool into iOS is going to be quite a big challenge. I'm sure if it was easy, that somebody would have done it already. So we're taking steps in the right direction, and all of these little releases and feature additions in terms of privacy features are a win in my book, and it's good to see that there's people independent of just Samurai who kicked all of this thing off are now realizing the benefits from it, and just continuing to implement.
Seems like a lot of it just comes down to pressure. When I spoke to Mehdi from Coinpool, and obviously they've got paynims integrated into their mining pool for payouts, and I said to him, like, was it really, really difficult to implement this because we've been pushing constantly and no one wants to do it? He was like, no, not really. So I guess it's just priorities, but it would be nice, even if you take all the privacy stuff out of it, just the ease of use for mining pools, not having to log in and constantly change every payout and new address and do things manually. It's a big win.
Yeah, you mentioned the term login there as well. I have a question that obviously you're probably best positioned to answer from doing the mining pod with John. Do Coinpool allow you? Have they implemented Auth47 yet, so that you can kind of sign in with your paynim as well, rather than having to use an email and whatnot?
I have no idea, to be honest. I can find out though. I'll find out and I'll mention it on the next pod. Well, I won't. I'll forget, cool. And John will listen to this and he'll remember, and we'll talk about it.
That'd be pretty slick if you could do that, like an all-encompassing paynim experience. That'd be awesome.
I'm sure if it's possible, he'll do it. From the conversations I've had with him on and offline, that guy just, if he thinks something's cool, he'll just get it done. Anything that someone in that community likes, they're ready to, if enough people say, yeah, this would be a really cool feature, they're like, yeah, it would. Right, let's do it. So if it's possible, I'm sure they will.
If you're listening, Mehdi, get to it.
Yeah, come on, mate.
Yeah, one bit of housekeeping from the foundation side. We recently released Batch 2 firmware version 2.0.5, which introduced support for Keeper, Bitcoin Keeper wallet that we've just been discussing. Loads of different minor bug fixes. The big one here was we've improved the QR code scanning speed and compatibility. So we had some of our more hardcore customers that used quite large multi-sig quorums and had quite a lot of UTXOs, which naturally create larger and larger transactions in terms of data, which doesn't lend itself as well to being passed back into by QR codes, and it was taking longer for them to scan. So we've improved the QR code scanning library drastically to improve that performance, and it's pretty slick experience now. So anybody that's got a passport that uses multisig, this will be a big quality of life improvement for you when you're signing transactions or importing multisig configurations, things like that. And just to save any confusion, if anybody goes to the docs or the GitHub and they see 2.0.6. That was just a release yesterday with a hotfix for a minor pin entry visual bug for the psychopaths that like to use letters in their pins. We discovered just after we released 05 that there was a minor bug with the visibility of some of the letters. So 06 is just got that hotfix in it, but everything else is the same as 05.
All right. One thing that got quite a bit of attention on Twitter, I think it was last week. That was definitely an unexpected release from Coinkite. They came out with the cold card Q1, as they call it. Chances are you've probably seen pictures of this floating around on Twitter. It looks kind of like, I mean, obviously they've been going with the calculator style, exactly, for quite a while. Now they've pushed this to a whole different level. It looks like one of those old, programmable calculators from back in the day. So it's got a big screen and it's got the whole full, what do you call it? The QWERTY, that's the one. That's what I was looking for. Keys on there, so you can obviously for typing in stuff like your passphrase or your seed or whatever. You can. That's quite a bit more efficient. It's got a big 3.2 inch screen and uses AAA batteries, which is definitely quite nice. We've also got a dual micro SD port. I'm not quite sure what benefits you get from that, but well, that's it. And one definitely unexpected thing was they have a QR code scanner in it. This was a big topic of big discussion over the last years with Cold Card. Definitely very vocally against QR codes, but apparently they've come around. So this
ironic,
has been
that, isn't it?
Hell yeah, no idea where that came from. But they have been very clear that they're doing it right. So they've got a exactly. They've got like a flashlight next to it. I mean, that is actually pretty cool, because lighting with QR codes, I mean, especially depending on like what your situation is, that can be pretty handy. And otherwise, it can do pretty much everything else that like the MK4 can do. One nice feature additionally as well is that you can actually open up the back and cut like some connection, like PCB on the back, and to disable NFC and USB data connection. So if you don't want to use that at all and you're kind of paranoid about that being a security issue, you can physically, irreversibly destroy that connection. So that's definitely a nice touch. One thing to add to the whole thing that they have, although it's not mentioned anywhere in their docs, they have confirmed on Nostr that they will have support for the seed QR standard. So if you're already using the seed QRs either on paper templates or the steel QRs in steel form from Vulkan, you will be able to use this with the Q1 as well. And that's where the flashlight definitely is a big benefit.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that they have been looking and have taken notice of the standards that have come out and are adopting that as well, and not just going their own way.
Can we talk a little bit about the way that this QR scanner is set up? Because like you say, it's been said that it's done the right way now. I'm not technical enough to understand this. Is it security theatre? Is there something actually to it? It's obviously a nice feature to have. Like, how is it set up differently, and does it really make any difference?
I think the scanner of choice, from my understanding, will be fairly performant. I think it's like the one you would see people work in Tesco use. Like, it's like a point and click. You won't see the output of the camera on the screen or anything like that. It's kind of just a point and it'll just scan it, sort of thing. So I think they'll probably be quite performant in terms of scanning really dense QR codes. But the whole bit about done right TM, if it's the QR code scanner that everybody thinks it is, then it's kind of like a black box unit that you can buy on Alibaba. So yeah, I'm a bit confused by some of the marketing that's been used. You know, these are some assumptions that we've made based on the information that is available. But all I would say is just take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt.
Yeah, as they explain it here, they say it's a simple 2-wire serial port, so there is less danger of scanned data doing more than it seems. I'm not quite sure exactly how like the actual like physical connection between the camera and like the device can actually mitigate against things not happening that you don't want to happen. I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you have more than a 2-wire serial port, if that opens up anything else, that'll be something to pass on to someone who knows more about that. But, yeah.
Indeed. Obviously, I've got my biases here. I'm not going to sit here and bash competitors while they're not around. I'll leave that up to the competitors as their MO. All I will say is, from what I can gauge, they haven't released any dimensions, but this is going to be a fairly big device compared to anything else on the market. I think it's going to be roughly, again, assumptions, don't know for sure. It's going to be like iPad mini size, maybe, which is fairly big. You know, it's not. I don't think it's going to fit I don't think it's going to fit in your pocket. Again, assumptions, caveats, whatever. You know, but that's the way we've kind of looking at it and kind of worked it out roughly based on the screen size and what we can see from the mock-ups.
Yeah, so it'd be something that stays at home. But, you know, it seems pretty cool to me. Like, it's nice to have the more optionality. The fact that they've now got a QR scanner is a good thing, I think. So, fair play.
Okay. I think we're through with most of the list. I mean, obviously, there's kind of the elephant in the room with the the elephants in our mempools.
Monkeys in the mempools.
Monkeys in the mempools. So obviously people who've been trying to do transactions over the last month or so, or a couple of weeks, have definitely been having a bit more trouble having to pay up due to the release of the Ordinals protocol that allows JPEGs on Bitcoin. So the day has come where we eventually have NFTs on Bitcoin. I mean, obviously, the NFT word has been not used in this instance, but at the end of the day, yeah, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of confusion nestled in amongst the controversy as well, because there's two words that have been bandied around. There's ordinals and there's inscriptions, which are technically speaking kind of two different things. So ordinals,
the most pointless thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, so it's basically an external view on all of the Bitcoin UTXOs, and it gives each sat a number essentially. So it's like an external view of attempting to track sats from their creation, from the Coinbase transaction across the network, such that, if you take this viewpoint, I think they call it ordinal theory, and you agree with the external view that this is putting on Bitcoin, then you can essentially feel like you're tracking sats across transactions, individual sats, and it's done in a specific a way of ordering them such that everybody that likes this ordinal theory can agree upon, such that they, according to their rule set, can know where one sat's gone from this transaction to that transaction, etc. This had no impact on Bitcoin itself. It doesn't affect Bitcoin's fungibility. It's like, I heard an analogy on a different podcast where it's like standing outside the Federal Mint when they bring all the banknotes out and then pointing at each one and go, right, that's number one, that's number two, that's number three, etc. For every single note that comes out, the Fed doesn't care about the number that I've just given to each one of those notes, and most of the rest of the population won't care. But anybody else that shares that belief system will collectively be able to track note number two as they see it be transacted from merchant to customer, etc., etc. So that's my understanding of ordinals. The more controversial bit, which kind of leverages this ordinal theory, is inscriptions. And this is where the monkey JPEGs come in. Some bright spark had figured out that you can store a lot of data in the witness part, or the kind of signature part, I guess, of Bitcoin transactions. And you can do so for a discount, which was introduced with SegWit. So this has been possible for quite a while. But when we introduced SegWit, which discounted the sort of signature part of the transaction to optimize transactions and to give Bitcoin transactions the right incentives, you pay less fees for transactions with larger signature sets. Now, these monkey JPEGs are being stored within the signature part of the transaction. So they're not kind of bloating the UTXO set or anything like that, which is a good thing from a node runner's perspective. But what they are doing is clogging up mempools. So yeah, everybody's got their own opinion of this. I personally am completely indifferent. I certainly won't be minting any, and I certainly won't be buying any. And these are valid transactions that are paying fees. So all of this hype around let's try and filter them out or let's try and stop them, for me, is complete bullshit and completely anti cypherpunk and Bitcoin ethos. Whether we like it or not everybody's going to be using this Bitcoin blockchain in the same way, and that's okay as long as it's paying a fee and it's abide by the consensus rules, then it's fine in my book.
One thing to clarify, I think if I understood this correctly, the connection between ordinals and inscriptions is the fact that if you do an inscription, you do this once and then it's permanently inscribed in the blockchain, like every other transaction as well. But you can transfer the ownership, basically, of one of these inscriptions by kind of tracking the lineage of a certain sat that you can then transact between people. And then you can say, okay, pay me for the ownership of this inscription, and I'll send you this sat. And then you can track that number all the way back to the first person who minted it or whatever. That's kind of, I think, the way how this works. So also for future transactions, it's not every time you transact with this inscription or it changes ownership. You don't actually have to redo the whole transaction. You just then have to pass on, or you have to do a transaction, but not with the entire inscription, just passing on that one sat. Is that correct?
Yes. My understanding is you're absolutely correct. So it minimizes the impact of the chain. You've got this large witness or signature data when the inscription is created. But then thereafter, the transfers of, air quotes, ownership of that inscription is just a traditional transaction, is my understanding. So there's no kind of additional bloat.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you as well on the being pretty indifferent about it. I think it's one of these things that there was a whole discussion about this. I mean, this is, I think, before my time, but hearing from other people as well about when Satoshi Dice or something came out, everyone thought Bitcoin was doomed because everyone would just be using it for gambling. But at some point, you're priced out with that, and there are better solutions for it. I don't know if this is kind of a passing thing. Obviously, the inscriptions that have been put in now, they'll stay forever. But I don't know if this will be a real long-term issue for Bitcoin. So I'm not too concerned about that in itself.
It's just nice to see the chain getting used. Nice to see full blocks. Admittedly, that means I've got to pay an extra couple of sats per byte. But it's nice to see it getting used. There is, if you take a step back, there is some really interesting use cases for this, right? Because things like STL files, 3D print files for anything you want, could be a cat, it could be a 3D printed gun, being stored on an immutable ledger that has tens of thousands of copies of it all around the globe. Might have its use cases in certain parts of the world. If you ask me, I think that is an interesting use case, and one that I would imagine might start getting leveraged more and more.
As long as they're paying fees and miners are getting their sats, then they're using the chain and it's valid. What's the problem? Because I've heard for a long time people worrying about what's going to happen when block reward goes to a point where it's low enough. Miners are then going to not be incentivized. And so that's always been a worry for a lot of people. And then people are whinging about it and saying, oh, maybe we need to have a tail emission, or what is it? Are you worried that we're not going to fill up blocks, or are you worried that we are going to fill up blocks? It doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, as long as miners are getting their sats. Who the fuck cares?
I think one of the kind of pushbacks from the more hardcore that, Bitcoin is money, and I can definitely see their viewpoint, is that these types of transactions kind of block out or crowd out, I guess, pure monetary or dense transactions. So I'll give you an example. I've just had a scan through mempool.space. There's two blocks side by side here. The first block is 3.1 megabytes in size, and it's got 911 transactions in it. The block after that is half the size, 1.5 meg, and it's got nearly 3,000 transactions in it. So haven't looked at the details, but that one of the reasons for that could be that there's a lot of inscriptions in the first block, taking up a lot more space and filling the block up quickly, meaning that there's less monetary transactions, if you like, or, don't know how to put it, but you get what I mean. And in the second one, there's less ordinals, which means that we can pack in more financially dense transactions into that, meaning that the hardcore people will be more happy. But yeah, coming back to your point, if it's paying a fee and it's within the block size limit that was introduced with SegWit, then I think the people that are mad at this should be mad at the people who push for SegWit and not the person that's kind of playing within the rules of the system.
There's been one argument as well brought up of people being concerned about legal issues if people upload or inscribe things like images that are illegal in certain jurisdictions. This could be literally anything. Anyone running a node is technically storing and propagating that information. That was one thing that has now come up. The thing is that that's been true for quite a while because you can store information and text, at least in opera turns, and that has been done as well. So that, obviously it is another step, but this would... this is not an issue currently. We'll have to see how the developments are, but that's definitely one other thing to keep your eye on. I haven't been following all the inscriptions that have been done over the last weeks, so I've no idea if there is anything that falls into that category yet. But yeah.
One funny story that I've seen take place a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. I mentioned earlier that Sparrow Wallet, because it supports receiving to Taproot addresses, has been the NFT Bitcoin wallet of choice since these inscriptions have been a thing. And the Telegram group's just been absolutely slammed with all of these new users that presumably haven't used Bitcoin before and have jumped on the ordinal hype cycle because they want to get their monkey JPEG onto a properly immutable ledger. So they've been jumping in and asking for support and on something that's technically nothing to do with Sparrow, really. It's just the fact that they are ahead of the game in terms of being able to receive the taproot addresses, that people have started to choose this. Is that people have been doing this to other wallets that support receiving to taproot but don't have coin control, and have then inadvertently sent their ordinal onto whoever they've sent like a random transaction to, because they can't isolate the because they can't isolate the output that contains the SAT that has the inscription assigned to it as ownership, that they've inadvertently just like sent that on to the next person and presumably wasted some sats. So I found that quite funny, and I guess that's just one of the teething problems of new technology and being an early adopter.
That's hilarious. Oh man,
I've seen a few of the .eths as well. I saw one, was it yesterday? Someone had written, "I'm really disappointed with Sparrow's support team. I've been waiting to have something sorted." And I'd written back to them saying it's not a team, it's one man. They're obviously thinking it's like a paid product and it's for them. And I imagine Craig is probably sick of it already.
Yeah, it's as if somebody's kicked the hornet's nest and the masses have just like descended on the Telegram group. It's quite hard to keep up at the moment. But there's probably a question for you, Ansmith. Like, how do you make an ordinal? Where do you do it? I've got no idea. Sorry, an inscription. There you go. Yeah. I fell down my own trap there.
Well, there is like ordinals.com. I think that's the domain they got. There you can definitely see like which like all the ordinals that are being inscribed, all the inscriptions that are being inscribed. Like you can see them visually on that site, and they also have a dedicated wallet for this. So I presume that's how you can do this. So probably in this wallet, you can somehow import some kind of image. There's then converted to to a transaction that you can then broadcast. But I have not done it myself, and I haven't seen a direct tutorial. I've just seen that they've got a wallet there. So that's just my presumption at the moment. But yeah.
Do you know what another interesting and very, very reckless use case has just popped into my head? I'm sure I'm not the first person to think of this. Is like you can put pretty much any type of data in these inscriptions. Like you could store like encrypted versions of like multi-sig configurations, or if you want to be really reckless, like encrypted versions of seeds as part of multi-sigs and stuff. You can have that inscribed on the Bitcoin blockchain, which is like I'm not recommending you do this, by the way. Certainly not the seed one, but I would probably be fairly comfortable if I actually use multi-sig, which I don't, to encrypt the multi-sig config and just put that in an inscription so that you've got an immutable backup that people have got tens of thousands of copies of around the world that they can't access unless they break the encryption. Yeah, just a spitballing thought process. But yeah, please don't go and do that. I just something that popped into my head.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that it's on tens of thousands of computers everywhere. So it's like if you want backups, that's like the ultimate backup.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, also like in the 90s, I mean, obviously that wasn't around at the time, but with the whole like encryption wars and stuff, just like having something like PGP or some kind of other software could do this as well. I mean, I think the thing is with propagating things like technical stuff that are updated often, like also with the example with like 3D printed guns or something like that. I don't know, like they become like outdated pretty soon. So then you've got a bunch of data that's on there that isn't really usable in 10, 15 years or something. So I think like the best use cases are for things that are like kind of, just stay valid for a long time. But we'll definitely see loads of people working on this and coming up with new ideas of how to use this. So it will definitely be interesting.
And it might bring more people in. Like, the shitcoiners fucking love NFTs, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Like a friend of mine who actually got me into Bitcoin is a massive shitcoiner. And I saw him, like, I don't know, a couple of months ago. And he was like, oh, you need to get NFTs on Bitcoin. I was like, I didn't actually know whether we could or not. I was like, we probably could. It's just fucking pointless, isn't it? If he and all these other shitcoiners love it so much and they're coming over, even if it might not be for something we agree with, if they're coming over and they start using Bitcoin and understanding Bitcoin to some extent, they might just be like, what am I doing with this other chain? This is fucking stupid. And so maybe it is a way to drive adoption, even if it's not something that we think is interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's some, I'm just browsing through the ordinals.com. Like, you can view all of the stuff that people have put on there. There's some ridiculous shit on there. Like, people are paying like 500 sats to put an animation, not an animation, sorry, a generated image of some toilet paper. I'm like, what? Like, why would you pay 500 sats to do that? Like, I can't wrap my head around why you would want to do it.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe somebody really, really likes toilet paper.
I can't see any. You sent the link.
Yes,
I can't see any of these things.
That one I've just sent is the number 5. So somebody's inscribed an image of the number 5 on the Bitcoin blockchain and paid 500 sats for it. And there's loads of shit like that. I just can't wrap my head around, like, why do you need an immutable copy of an image of the number 5? It's just beyond me.
Good question. If anyone's listening out there and they did this number 5 inscription, then let us know. Yeah. Why the fuck did you do that?
The good thing about this is it obviously you can see what the data is inscribed. You know, it could be an image, could be a PDF, whatever it is. That's what the ordinals.com website does, is it checks this witness data and converts it to the specified type. But you can also look at all the transaction details, so you can see how much. You can copy and paste the transaction ID into mempool.space and just see how much these degens are paying to do this ridiculous shit.
One question I had, maybe you can answer this, is if it was possible since SegWit, why do you have to use, because they're all using Taproot, right? There's some connection that you have to be using Taproot.
You have to be using it by the Ordinals rule set. I think the addition of Taproot just made this easier from a code perspective and also marginally cheaper as well. I think that's the general crux of it.
Okay. So do you have any data on like how this is like pushed Taproot adoption like over the last, like how much percent or something we've done? Because I mean, if you like look back at SegWit or something, like, I mean, it took fucking years to get any significant portion of transactions. I mean, this is probably skyrocketed.
Yeah, if the I'm just going to send you a link. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Check the chat. Maybe you want to put in the show notes, Max, or maybe not when you see it. If to answer your question, Antimus, if the Sparrow Telegram group's anything to go by, then it certainly accelerated it somewhat. Not for the use case that was, I guess, intended, but people are using Taproot addresses at least. I guess one way to look at this is that, you know, there's going to be loads and loads more Taproot outputs on the chain now when people are creating these. So there was always this theory that, you know, CoinJoin applications or multi-sig applications that were early adopters of Taproot outputs kind of stood out on chain. And it was kind of like nobody wants to go first, because if you know that Whirlpool uses Taproot, which they don't, and then you start seeing, you know, outputs, Taproot outputs, then you'll kind of know that they're from Whirlpool. And the same with multi-sig and whatnot. I guess that the more Taproot addresses that are being used is going to start to increase the anon set a little bit and kind of accelerate the number of Taproot addresses that are on chain and outputs that are on chain, which I guess is a good thing.
But they're probably pretty distinct, right, from normal transactions. I mean, it's probably pretty obvious.
They might be. Are they a fixed amount? These or the output that's created?
I don't know. No.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, maybe it's not the.
But one thing is, I mean, obviously, with that argument is that for a lot of people, it's just like going through the hassle of setting up kind of just Taproot in itself. And if you're doing this, if you're using Ordinals, then you might as well just kind of use this for all your other transactions as well. So just switching over and doing first few Taproot transactions and seeing that basically nothing's changed from a user's perspective, this might just drive people to use it for everything else as well if they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, agreed. The important, or one of the important things to remember here as well is that by default, Bitcoin Core doesn't check every single signature when it does its initial block download. We have kind of checkpoints, so I can't remember the proper term now, but I think it's called assume valid, where there's like the core developers will set like a block height where it's so far buried in the chain that consensus is that thousands of people have already validated the signatures up to this point. So core kind of by default ignores all of that sort of stuff. So as time goes on, this will kind of be not forgotten about, but it won't be validated by everybody that's doing the IBD. So the impact isn't quite going to be as big as I think some people are assuming.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. I mean, this is definitely caused quite a bit of uproar and definitely turmoil. And I mean, I think this will carry on for a while. Yeah, we'll see what the long-term implications are, but I guess there'll be quite a few changes and new things that will come out of this, and maybe something interesting as well. Who knows?
I think that the other beautiful thing that's kind of come out of this, as everybody's been wargaming it, is that you can't really stop this sort of behavior. There's people talking about bringing out copies of or forks of Bitcoin Core that kind of have mempool policies that and somebody's already done this, that kind of just don't relay them, which is fairly futile, because as long as you've got, just a small minority of well-connected nodes that will relay them, then this shit's still going to be passed around the network and make its way to miners, and miners are, financially incentivized to just take whatever's paying the highest fee. So, that's just quite funny to see all the screeching and whatnot, and people trying to think of ways that they can work around or stop this quote unquote what they're calling spam, and there being no viable way to do it. So free market playing out.
Is there anything cool, do you think, that we just haven't really thought about that will come from this? I remember when I was first getting introduced to Bitcoin, and there was like some video going around. I think Tone Vase was in it and a few others, and they were talking about like Bitcoin used for property rights in third world countries, and being able to have data on chain that would prove in some way that someone has ownership of, let's say, a property or a business or something like that. Does this potentially open a door for something like that? Because if it did, coming from property world, doing a transaction, trying to get something sold, you have to pay solicitors thousands of pounds to waste your time for 4 or 5 months doing pointless shit. You have to chase them every fucking day. And effectively, it's just one person saying, I want this, and the other person saying, I want to sell this, and you're just transferring ownership across. That's effectively all you're doing. And money, obviously. Do you think that potentially, because that would be a large transaction, if someone's selling a property or a business, it's like, well, you don't mind spending 50 quid on that transaction, because otherwise I'm going to spend thousands of pounds and spend, honestly, like 4 months, 5 months chasing these fucking retards around, and you almost lose the sale quite often because they're so shit at their jobs. Is there a way, or is that fantasy land?
There's definitely a way. I think it's quite analogous to the ordinal theory that I gave a very quick download of earlier, is that you could look at it as kind of like a belief system. So you could have, let's say you got the deeds to your car on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. You believe that whoever owns that SAT has the car details on it, owns the car. But if I turn up to your house with a baseball bat and take your car, then I'm the owner of your car. I don't give a shit what it says on a blockchain.
With a car, that makes sense, but I'm talking about a property or a business. So, for example, there's proof on chain that you have sent me, whatever, a few $100 grand for a house. We've signed and I've passed over a key, or however it's done. I'm not, I'm just completely making this up. But if there was a way to prove that payment has been made and transfer of ownership has been made, you can turn up all you want with your baseball bat. I'll just say, you're not coming in, you cunt, and here's the proof. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you can stand out there in the rain.
I think it's a nice thought, but again, back to reality, most properties have mortgages which are provided by banks who are not going to give a shit about this sort of stuff. So there's ways in which it could work, but trying to keep my feet on the ground here, that most people have a mortgage that's provided by a bank. So if the bank essentially owns your house, then I don't know.
No, I agree. I don't know.
We've kind of also had like this discussion for years. I mean, NFTs and all this kind of stuff has been around for a while. And there've been all these kind of other attempts to somehow prove ownership over physical things in our world on other blockchains for ages. And I mean, now that it's on Bitcoin, it doesn't really change the. I mean, obviously, we believe in like the immutability of the Bitcoin blockchain in contrast to others, but it doesn't change the actual inherent problem that there's no direct physical or no direct connection between like the on-chain data and the physical world. So you'd still kind of need some kind of verification. Like if we transact and we actually want to sell a house between the two of us, sure, we can sign with our keys, but our keys aren't connected to our like legal identity. So you'd kind of have to have that verified anyway, that because I mean I've got loads of different keys, like and I could just pretend to sign on chain, and like then I'm kind of pretending to be with the seller or the buyer in a different trade of someone else's property. And I think that was also kind of the conclusion from all the other NFT discussions and stuff. It can be useful for things that are like low value, but only if the cost of transacting this stuff is then also low. So especially on blockchains that aren't decentralized, but a very low cost in transacting, like you can do this kind of stuff for whatever, like concert tickets or something like that, and then you can transact those between each other and then whatever. And it's not like a huge deal, and you're not going to go to court because of this. But if you're having like a big thing like a house or a car or selling a business or whatever, I think you're not really removing the problem, because at the end of the day, you'll if you want to go to court, you still have to have this whole thing in the actual traditional legal system as well.
That's why these NFTs and inscriptions have blown up in the last couple of years, is because they don't have that link to the physical world. So you can truly transfer the ownership. Well, maybe not if you're on Ethereum, because it's all centralized bullshit. But this inscriptions version of it, there's no ties to the physical world, so you can provably transfer ownership just by signing with a key. Whereas, the examples that we've used before, clearly there's a physical item that needs to be dealt with in the physical world with real people. I think the reason that there's been such an influx also to the inscription side and doing this on Bitcoin is that most of the implementations that have done all this shit previously on Ethereum and derivatives of Ethereum is that the information that's kind of on the chain, so to speak, it just points to a website that shows the monkey JPEG or whatever it is. So you're reliant on whoever's running that website to continue to interpret that data and show your digital bullshit. Whereas Bitcoin, it's like it is immutable and it is on the chain and there's thousands of copies of it. And anybody can run this ordinal stuff that interprets this data, so you can show it. So you're not reliant on anybody else. As long as there's a single copy of the network and somebody willing to run this ordinals software that interprets it, then that's the draw and why the degens are coming en masse to do this on Bitcoin.
But at the end of the day, you can still copy as much as you want. I mean, even I could now go onto ordinals.com and just download one of those images and reinscribe it and resell it, and at the same time I could just download a picture of some digital artist who's selling physical stuff and just inscribe that on the chain and start selling it. And that doesn't mean that I'm the owner of that art. So at the end of the day, all you're doing is transacting that specific data in that inscription and just transferring the ownership of that. But that doesn't stop anyone else from either only owning the physical representation of that or just copying your stuff and reselling that again.
Yeah, the crucial bit is the tie to that individual sat that's been marked at when the inscription was created, isn't it? That's the proof of ownership sort of thing. So if you were to copy something, then you can't steal that original sat off me. But, for all intents and purposes, it'll be the same monkey JPEG.
Exactly, yeah.
So don't waste your sats, people.
Yes.
And if you do want to send waste your sats, donate it to the podcast.
Yeah, definitely do that. I need to work out. I've started having people streaming sats from other services outside of Fountain, and I can't then see their details or who they are or anything like that. I can't give them a shout out. Is there a easy way for me to do that? Do either of you know?
No idea, mate. Sorry, I've not messed around with value for value stuff. I know Seth's been looking at it for our Foundation podcast. He's recently implemented it, so I'll have a chat with him to see if he knows anything about that. Oh yeah, that's a cool info share. Actually, we recently started doing Twitter Spaces with the Foundation team every other Tuesday, 7 p.m. GMT, to talk about sort of what we're up to and stuff that related to sovereignty. It's called Journey to Sovereignty, and we've just set up value for value, so you can stream sats to us. And we're going to do 100% pass through to 4 open source projects. We're going to be splitting it 25% each to Zeus, Sparrow Wallet, OpenSats, and RoboSats. So any sats that comes through to will be going, aside from the fee that the value for value creators take, I think that's a couple of percent. The rest of it will be split 4 ways between those 4 projects that are, close to our heart and very aligned with what we're up to. So, just thought I'd share that.
Very cool. And so that's just on Spaces. You just have to tune in live.
Well, it's live on Spaces, but we've got our own podcast feed as well. So if you just search for Journey to Sovereignty, it should come up. We have had some visibility issues, but if you add in the word Foundation, it should come up on any of your podcast apps.
Very nice. I'll check that out. And just know, if you're streaming me sats, I do a split. Half of it goes to my electric and half of it goes to my gas. So thank you very much. You got to support heat and lights in the home.
Love it.
Nice way to end.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Good to catch up. I'll be on better form next month.
Get well soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, man.